It has been about a month since the Stanley Cup final ended. When you consider that you have three Stanley Cup rings, what was it like to be on the other side?
Yeah, that was tough. I remember back to when we beat Boston in 2013. I remember talking to Peter Chiarelli the beginning of the next year, and it was right around training camp, and I was just commenting on how short the summer had been, and and he laughed. He said, "Well, it was just a summer. It was just as short for us, but we didn't win anything, So it's a little bit tougher being on the losing end. So now I know what that feels like. So you expend all that energy and that effort, and you get all the way so close, but not all the way. So it's it definitely leaves a different feeling. But you try to look at it with some perspective now that some time has passed, and we did have a great season, and we had a great run there for a while. Came up a couple games short, but yeah, I think it shows that we've got a great group. We're close, but I think the other thing is you appreciate how hard it is to win, and a lot of things have to go your way. Florida played great. I mean, certainly hats off to them. They deserved it. They played great. We played great too. We're just not quite there. So I think it's a recognition for how hard it is to win the Stanley Cup. You can have a great team, and I really liked the way we played. Just wasn't our year.
A lot's happened since the Stanley Cup was presented, but your first full year in Edmonton, what did you learn about the organization?
Incredibly passionate fan base. They love the Oilers, and I'd heard a lot about it. Like I was watching it the previous year, from a distance, just watching the fans go crazy. And I had heard that the fans are just fanatical about the Oilers, and I said, yeah, most people say that about their fans, but you get there and you realize it really is true. I mean, everybody there is an Oilers fan. 100% of the people in the city support the Oilers, and they get so excited for the game. So that was a lot of fun, just being part of the community and watching them rally around the team. I think they showed it a lot on TV during the playoffs, just those fans outside and how excited they get watching all the games. So it was awesome. I enjoyed every minute of it. I had a blast. We had a fun season, and we came up short. So this year, we want to find a way to get two more wins in the final.
What did you learn about your organization?
Well, I didn't know a lot of the people. Like when I came in kind of late. It was probably around late July last year. So I just sort of inherited the staff. I guess my first takeaway was some great people here. Like I really was impressed with the front office group and scouts and the training staff and everybody. Like sometimes you come into an organization you don't know. I'd been in Chicago for a long time, so essentially everyone there I had hired. Whereas in Edmonton, nobody I had hired. So it was totally different. But I walked away incredibly impressed with the group that we have. The support staff and front office group. And then getting to know the players was really fun. It's a whole new group of guys that I hadn't been, didn't have experience with. So that was fun. Like I got a chance to get to know them on a personal level, as well as watch them up close. So I had a great time. I love the community. I loved Edmonton. I loved everything about our team. So it made it a really fun year.
How do you summarize what you've gone through in the last 5 weeks then?
Well, we wanted to try to make a few changes. Like I've always felt coming after when we won some of those years in Chicago, I never thought it made sense to bring everybody back. I always like to have a little bit of newness to the group. Whether you win or lose, I think it's important to try to have some guys that weren't part of that group and they didn't experience the long run. So for them, next year is going to be, I think you need some of that newness and that energy to push your group, because especially the Oilers have been a really strong team for years, not like long before I got there. Had a lot of long runs in the playoffs, and I think sometimes you need some different players. And so one of the focus was to try to bring a little bit of youth to our team. I think you need that to help push we have more of a veteran team. I think we've tried to get younger over the last, some of the moves we made, because I think that's important for a team to have some of that energy from players that haven't been through it, haven't been through the grind of a season. And it is a grind. Like, it's hard, you get that stretch from November to February, and you just kind of have to get through it. And the veterans have done it many times, so they sort of understand it. But I think having some new faces that haven't done it is good for your group and kind of push them forward. So that was one of the things we wanted to try to do, player wise. And then we had some, coaching changes with some people leaving. So we have kind of a new staff. So coming into this year, actually, I'm kind of excited about it. We have not only some new players, but new staff. So it's going to be not just, I felt like last year was more, I joined late and it was sort of just, let's try to get over the hump one more game because we got to game 7 the year before. So it was like more of a reprisal. I think now we're trying to not so much look at the past, and we're looking to do something a little bit different this year. We still have all the main players that we did, but I think we're going to have some new coaches and some new energy with our group, which should be fun.
Does it feel like your team now?
Well, sure. Yeah. I mean, it did last year too, but there was that adjustment for me to get acclimated to the organization. And, there's really nothing you can do to accelerate that other than just experience it with them. So I had a great time, but I think you're right. I mean, I'm certainly more familiar and comfortable with everybody now, players, staff, everything. So it probably feels a little bit, it definitely feels differently than it did 1 year ago. And that's exciting though. I'm really looking forward to this year's camp, and it'll be a little bit different.
How difficult was it to change goaltending coaches?
That was hard. It was. I mean, I know Dustin had been there for a long time, and I think it wasn't really so much about people doing a bad job. It's just, I think sometimes change is good. And, when you've had one thing for a long time, and, Stu's been there for a few years in a row, and same with Pickard. I just felt maybe a little bit of a different look would be good for our organization. I think sometimes you can get some energy out of change. It doesn't always have to mean that there was horrible reasons for it or why. I just think sometimes change is good, and that was really the thought process that went into that one.
And you're very familiar with Peter Robbie, correct?
I do, yeah. I had Peter in Chicago for a number of years. I think the thing I liked about Peter was, first, just spending time with him. You get to know him as a person. He's a fantastic guy. It's fun to be around. I think he's a very collaborative guy, which I liked. I think that's something that will benefit us going forward. And we've got a lot of smart people here in our organization, goaltending wise, like developmentally and even in Bakersfield. And I feel like we can, maybe be a collaborative group a little bit differently than we were. And I think that's going to benefit us. Peter's really strong at that. And I think he's always had good relationships with the goalies. I think a lot of it, there's a technical aspect to goaltending without a doubt. But I do think that there's a large part of it that's the mental side and the being able to, I mean, it's the toughest position to play in professional sports, probably. I mean, I guess you could argue quarterback or pitcher in other sports, but I think, similarly, goalie is, and I do think a large part of it is just handling the mental stress of that. So you have to have a good relationship with your goalies and to be able to help them through those ups and downs that are inevitable. And I know that Peter has that.
So does that mean that Stu and Cal are the two guys going to camp as the Oiler goalies? Yeah,
that's the way it looks right now. I mean, I guess you never say never, but I think right now, we looked at a lot of different options, and I think there was a lot of good things that we did last year. I understand the external focus and the goaltending. I mean, that's one, getting back to your earlier question, that's one thing I've noticed about Edmonton is there's certainly a lot of focus on the goaltending.
You're being kind, Stan.
Yeah, there's a lot of focus on that, and I understand that. I do. You respect the fans' passion. I think I wouldn't want it the other way around, where they were indifferent towards your team. But it certainly does get a lot of attention, probably more so than it deserves. But that's the nature of the beast, and so we're going to deal with it.